What's the ruling on eating beyond fill? The Messenger ﷺ gave the clearest solution for that. And he gave a principle for everyone to follow in this matter. A hadith that indicates the miracle of the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. It presents a cure, or more so a preventive measure, to a major source of illnesses, both physical and spiritual illnesses. ما ملأ آدمي وعاء شرا من بطن بحسب ابن آدم أكولات يقمن صلبه فإن كان لا محالة فثلث لطعامه وثلث لشرابه وثلث لنفسه. The worst container to fill is the stomach. There's no container worse to fill than the stomach. Never fill your stomach. The Messenger ﷺ taught us that it's sufficient for one to eat what supports his back, meaning the basic he needs to survive. Ibn al-Qayyim said that's the bare minimum where one maintains his strength and will not fail or weaken. If it's not possible to do that, then a third for food, a third for water, and a third for breathing. Back in the time of Al-Ma'mun and Al-Mutawakkil, there was a famous physician named Abu Zakaria Yahya ibn Masawayh. He authored many medical books back then. He was a Christian. He was a Muslim. He read this hadith in the books of Abu Khaythama. He said, if people, this is a Christian physician back then, he said if people apply this hadith, hospitals and pharmacies would shut down. Today, many people's lives roams around the goal of eating and drinking. They overeat and they become dissatisfied with the most delicious meals because of all the ni'am and blessings that they've become accustomed to. Food has become what angers or pleases people. If it's too salty or not as expected, it may cause a divorce in some households. So the bottom line is the Messenger ﷺ taught us not to habitually fill our stomachs. Mighty people and people who live for a cause don't fill their stomachs. Hunger can be satisfied with something very simple and basic, because the Messenger ﷺ said so. 1/3 for eating, 1/3 for drinking, 1/3 for breathing is the recommendation of the Messenger ﷺ. If you read the books of the ulama in the past, you would be astonished at how serious they took this matter and how stern they were about it. Ibn Rajab spoke about it. Ibn al-Qayyim spoke about it. Ibn Abi Dunya, Al-Ghazali, Al-Qurtubi, and many others either had statements about it or entire chapters about it. Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentioned it in Madarij al-Salikin, and he also mentioned it in Zad al-Ma'ad. He considered overeating among the matters that corrupts the hearts. He said it extinguishes the light of the heart and it blindens the insight of the heart. He said consuming too much food weakens one's powers. It weakens one's health and resolve. And it stops his determination and it makes him fall backwards. And he said, whoever doesn't realize this or whoever is not aware of this has a dead heart. Ibn al-Qayyim and al-Ghazali both said, and I rephrase what they said. They said overindulgence in food burdens one from performing ibadat. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali warned about this, and he mentioned many quotes about this. He said, if you were to go to the graveyard and ask the people there why they died, he said most of those in the graveyard would be telling you it's from overeating. he also mentioned that overeating is the head of the diseases and ailments. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, it was narrated that he said at one time that I haven't filled my stomach in 4 months. In another narration, he said, I haven't filled my stomach since I embraced Islam. Similar to that is the Shafi'i. He said, I haven't filled my stomach in 16 years. Because filling the stomach weighs down the body. It diminishes the intelligence, and it brings sleep, and it weakens one from his ibadat. Some say, oh, but the Sahaba never had anything. That's why they never filled their stomachs. That's proof actually against them. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses what's best for the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba. He chose for them the most perfect and best conditions, and that was one of them. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma used to imitate that status by choice later on, just as his father did radiallahu anhuma. Muhammad ibn Wasi' says, whoever listens his intake of food will comprehend better, will teach better, and will be pure. Salama ibn Sa'ad said, a man used to be reproached for his obesity just as he would be reproached for his sins. Al-Hasan al-Basri said, Subhanallah, does a Muslim ever eat until he can't eat anymore? Many ulama stated in one way or another that overeating is carrying a heavy load and that it corrupts the heart and causes laziness to the physical parts of the body, and it diminishes one's ability to make ibadat, and it pushes one towards desires. Some people may have health issues, and that may cause them to overeat or to be overweight. But how can it be acceptable for a young, healthy brother or sister in their prime, maybe late teens or early 20s or so, in the peak of their prime, yet they overeat and allow themselves to be overweight, and then cry about the illnesses that follow along with that? To some, food has become like a goal in life. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, excessiveness in what's permissible is exceeding the limit, and that's forbidden in transgression. The Quran made it as clear as possible. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. If it's habitual overeating, then it's a problem that must be addressed. If someone exceptionally overeats at a wedding or a special occasion or gathering, then it shouldn't be a problem. Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam one time smiled and gave Abu Huraira radiallahu an a drink. And Abu Huraira said, I drank. Abu Huraira said, I kept drinking, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept saying, drink. Until Abu Huraira said, by the one who sent you with the truth, I have no room for it. لا والذي بعثك بالحق ما أجد له مسلك. That's evidence on the permissibility of filling the stomach at times, random occasions, for certain reasons. What the ulama mentioned about either disliking or prohibiting overeating, they mean when it burdens the stomach to where one can't stand up or struggles when he stands up in his ibadat, or when it leads to him becoming fatigued, or it causes him to do sins, or to oversleep, or it causes laziness or illnesses. That's the first hukum on this matter. And it's what Al-Qurtubi said. He said, it's disputed between being haram or makruh. What's disputed between being haram or makruh? Some of the ulama said it's haram, some said it's makruh. Filling the stomach, then going beyond that to overeating, without there being a legitimate reason or without it being exceptional. They dispute whether it's haram or makruh. And really the hukum of whether it's haram or makruh would depend on the level of israf or the effect of the harm that it causes to an individual. Some in the past said don't overeat and don't overdrink so that you will not oversleep and you'll end up losing a lot. The second hukum is the opposite of the first hukum. It's when it's fard to eat. And that's where one must eat the bare minimum to remain alive, the survival limit. If one abandons eating and drinking until he dies, then he's disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wal iyadhu billah. It's fard on one to eat for survival. And that's what's meant in the hadith, بِحَسْبِ ابْنِ آدَمْ أُكُولَاتٌ يُقِمْنَ صُلْبَةً. The third hukum is when one gets reward for it. Eating slightly above the fard level in order to nourish himself, to attain energy, to perform the ibadat, or for example, with the right intention, so that he can go out and work and provide for himself and his family. So that he can be comfortable and properly perform the ibadat like fasting, for example. Or to stand for prolonged periods of time in ibadah. The fourth category is when it's permissible. It's when one eats until he's full. The difference between the fourth category and the first one is that here, this fourth one is not overfilling the stomach. It's just filling it. The first category, where we said it's either makruh or haram, is going beyond filling. And here, in the fourth category, it's neither a sin to do that, nor is there reward for it.